There are times in life when it's clear that our brain is trying to tell us something. Now, consciously, we may not even recognize what's going on. We may not even understand what it's trying to tell us or why it's telling us. We just recognize that there's something that isn't feeling right now. So last night was one of those nights where I didn't sleep at all last night. Sorry, I didn't sleep at all last night. I did sleep a bit, but I just had to quote the saw. So what happens sometimes when that happens, and this time I'm clueless why I didn't sleep at all last night. This time I didn't sleep because it was clear that my brain was trying to tell me something. I woke up, shoulders stiff, back aching all over the place, and just going, man, something's wrong here. And as I started going through the day, I started realizing that something was wrong. And it was some load on my shoulders, some things I needed to do. And I came to realize that it just wasn't the plan that was planned wasn't right. And it was very clear to me. So when your brain is trying to tell you something, it's probably right in some ways. But there is one key question that you need to ask yourself. It comes down to the two possibilities. You need to ask yourself, does my brain feel like something's wrong because I'm afraid? Or because something's really wrong? So here's the thing about fear. If you're afraid, you actually may or may not want to let that guide you. There are many, many examples about how our fear tries to keep us from doing something that is really good, that we really ought to do. For example, speaking in front of a public audience. So many people are terrified of that. Yet their life, their career, everything about them would probably be better if they did it in spite of the fact that they were afraid. Same thing with other things like driving or going out on their first date or meeting somebody that could become a friend or starting a new school situation or a new job or something like that. We have this fear where our body's trying to protect us, to keep us in stasis because it wants us to be safe. And in those cases, if your brain is trying to tell you that it's afraid, I would honestly ask myself the question, am I afraid because I'm going to die? Or am I afraid because my body doesn't want me to take a risk that would cause it to have to change? But then there's the other kind of thing, the kind of thing I had last night where something was really wrong. You know, those times at night where you wake up and you go, something's wrong. I don't know what it is. But you really need to get up and walk around the house, and all of a sudden you discover a broken pipe or something on fire or an intruder or something like that. Those are absolutely real, and they are something you definitely may want to pay attention to. So when your brain is telling you something's wrong, I encourage you to ask this question: what would change this situation? And in many cases, there are lots of options. I encourage you to be creative in looking at those options. So often we feel like something's wrong. I have no options. Well, you know what? Oftentimes you actually do have options. And it may be that something doesn't feel right. And if you call your boss in the morning and say, hey, something doesn't feel right about this project, you may discover that your boss also was awake half the night with the exact same concerns. And all of a sudden, two brains saying, hey, something's not right here, can become a confirmation you may need to do something differently. You can change plans, you can change schedules, you can change the way you're approaching it, you can change so many things. Get creative. Pay attention when your brain is trying to tell you something wrong is wrong, unless it's trying to tell you something's wrong because it's just afraid and it wants you to not do that. If it's just afraid and it wants you just not do that, do it anyway. If something's really wrong, what can you change? What's been your experience with this innate something's really wrong, where your brain just tells you? What's been your experience? Let me know in the chat. How have you dealt with it? This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.